possibly the most highly anticipated game of the week is Cardinals versus Texans. Kyler Murray and CJ Stroud, two hot young quarterbacks. Let's talk about it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh.
Murray heaves it downfield. It's caught. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins. Miraculous. It's Murray magic.
The sickest Arizona Cardinals podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome to the sickest Arizona Cardinals podcast. I am your host, Kelly Singh. You can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Kelly in Phoenix. And today I have a special guest with me. Her name is Wendi Earley. I met her on the app formerly known as Twitter. Wendi, I cannot remember your Twitter handle off the top of my head. Give it to the people.
It's just my name, but it's Wendi with an I on the end. So it's WendiEarley. So it's just my name.
I thought I had like a number for some reason.
No, I don't have anything cool like Kelly in Phoenix.
Wendi
it
Earley
doesn't sound the
is
same.
pretty cool.
Wendi in Indiana just doesn't really have the same ring to it, you know?
Sure it does. Oh my goodness, Wendi. I know you're like somebody I enjoy chatting with on Twitter. We got to meet in person at the expo. You've been taking a stab at hosting a conversational podcast that I had the opportunity to be a guest on. And I thought, you know what? I need to have Wendi on with me. I know you're not a Cardinals fan. You're not necessarily a Houston Texans fan, but you are a fan of football. And that's what we're here to talk about.
I'm a fan of you. I'm a fan of you. So this is just something I have to tell a quick story because I want you to know how important this is to me and what this actually does mean to me. I was not having a good week this week. Okay. It was a death anniversary. My mother passed away 4 years ago. It was Tuesday for, 4 years. It was unexpected. So it was kind of, it was down a little bit, but, all of my friends here, JC, Carla, everybody that came and watched the show, they all made me feel good that day. And, so then yesterday you reach out to me and you're like, hey, you want to come on my show? And, of course I get this, oh my gosh, Kelly frickin' Singh wants me to come on her show. Are you kidding me? I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, that's so great. And, I knew it was about the Cardinals and stuff. And so I'm driving home and I walk in my house and I walk in the kitchen dining room, which is, you would think I'm a hoarder right now if you came to my house because I'm doing my office and everything is just piled over there. But the thing that stuck out to me when I walked in the door was a gift that I had received at my mom's funeral from my hairdresser and good friend, Taylor. I'll see you in 3 weeks, Taylor. But when I walked in, I saw this and there's meaning to this. So thank you for letting me tell you this. So it says, when a cardinal appears in your yard, it's a visitor from heaven. And this was something that Taylor gave me at my mom's funeral. And look,
it's a cardinal. Now here you are. I reached out to you.
I mean, come on. Is that not just like the coolest thing? And this is why it meant so much for me to be here. So thank you.
Now I'm getting all misty. I love that. I love that. My dad passed away in 2015. He was my best friend. So I know what it feels like to lose a parent. And I look for signs and symbols everywhere. So I love that story.
Totally.
So much.
So guess what? I guess I'm a Cardinals fan now.
Well, there we go. But here's how this kind of came about, everybody. We are going to jump in to discussing the Cardinals, I promise. But I listened to Amy Trask and Susie Schuster's new podcast. It's called What the Football. There's several episodes out now. And the way that they converse with one another and have a conversation is something that I have felt like I really, really want in this podcast. So I thought of you just because I loved being on your podcast and how we were able to converse just freely.
That's so wonderful.
That's
I'm
where we
so
got.
appreciative and so blessed. And I told you this was a dream come true when you mentioned this yesterday. I'm like, to work with you is just an honor, and I'm looking forward to talking about your Cardinals.
Thanks, Wendi. Well, the first thing you brought up to me in the chat when I mentioned the Cardinals was you actually, I don't know if you completed the trade. You can tell us in a second,
I'll
but
tell you at the
you had
end.
a trade pending. It was, let's see, giving up Christian Kirk, and Terry McLaurin, which is a pretty big duo, in exchange for receiving Kyler Murray and I already lost it in my notes. Kyler Murray and Curtis Samuel.
Curtis Samuel, yeah.
Okay, so you have Brock Purdy, you have Will Levis. Those are your current.
Yes.
This is the QB1, right?
It's the QB1. Yeah, redraft QB1.
One QB redraft, so no Superflex, no Dynasty, redraft. Correct. Standard. Okay, and then this is all wide receivers in play other than Kyler Murray.
I mean, I have Waddle. Waddle's my wide receiver one, and I just thought, what is the better? Is it an upgrade to get Kyler Murray, over Brock Purdy? But I'm losing those two big studs. I mean, studs. I don't know if I can say studs, but they're
for your
definitely
lineup
starting wide receiver. Yes.
Let's just boil it down to the QBs. This is my thought. Purdy is more consistent than Will Levis for sure. So then it is, can Murray do better than Purdy? And if you look at the average fantasy points per game, they're pretty equal, Wendi, except this specific season, Purdy has been a bit erratic. Just based even on last week's game, Murray was rusty, but he played well fantasy wise. So I personally would, if you're out there and have a different opinion and you want to share it, she's probably already made it. Did you make the trade?
I did not take the trade. Okay. And I mean, I might still talk to her later if she doesn't, make another trade before that. But the wide receivers that I'm getting, these people, they have not had their bye week yet. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. I really didn't even, because I was just like, I can't stand, I don't want Will Levis on my team. I really want Kyler Murray. And, so I did not take the trade, but it's not completely off the table. I told her that if she doesn't make another trade, that we can talk later. And when it comes to Cardinal questions, I'm coming to you. So thank you.
I mean, you're welcome, because we're going to be talking about this right now. This is the most highly anticipated game this week. Now that Kyler Murray's back in the picture, CJ Stroud has just been constantly talked about across every talk show, podcast, tweet.
Everyone loves him too. I mean, everyone loves this guy.
CJ Stroud is killing it. Yeah. So are you, as a general fan of football, are you planning on tuning into this game just because of all of the hype that we've been hearing and seeing? Are you excited to see it?
It's all going to depend on if it's shown, the entire game is shown locally for me, because that makes a difference. I live in the Chicagoland area, so sometimes I get different games than other people get. So if not, I'm usually going to watch Red Zone anyway, so I'm going to see everything. 7 uninterrupted, commercial-free hours of football. Okay.
And there you have it. That's a true football fan right there. What have you been hearing about CJ Stroud? Because what I've been hearing is not just rookie talk, and not just rookie of the year, even MVP kind of talk for this season. What have you been hearing out there?
I'm not hearing necessarily the MVP talk, but there's definitely, I mean, didn't he break some kind of record already?
Yeah, he's been
I
breaking
mean,
all
that, and
kinds of records.
yeah, I mean, I think he's for real. I don't think it's a fluke. He's even got a little bit of a banged up receiving core right now. And, I mean, come on, now he's got Tank Dell stepped up, another rookie. So that's kind of cool to see the two of them succeeding. So I'm a fan for
Yeah.
sure.
I pull up the injury report each week just to kind of see what we're dealing with. And wow, Houston has a laundry list of injuries. I mean, name after name after name after name. And I don't claim to know the importance of every single player, especially when we're talking O-line and defensive line. I only know like the key players, but key players, safety, Jimmy Ward did not practice this week. Wide receiver Noah Brown did not practice this week. Damian Pierce, probably the biggest piece, did not practice this week. And when they don't practice and it's this late in the week, they're likely not to play. So I think we're looking good for the Cardinals.
I mean, are you worried about Devin Singletary at all, or?
Of course. Yeah, definitely. I was just going to say, it's still a highly talented quarterback, and they still have plenty of pieces for him to throw to. It's not like the end of the world, but you're kind of hoping that out of that laundry list, that there's some severe damage, maybe within the O-line, within the defense, where the Cardinals can poke holes. So Kyler Murray last week, Wendi, I don't know if you saw any of the game, but he looked a little rusty in the sense of there were some small mistakes made or missed opportunities that he probably wouldn't have made had he been sharp and practiced. So it's expected.
I mean, I
little
guess
rustiness.
kind of to be expected after being out for so long. And that was a pretty, heinous injury there that he had to recover from. I mean, for him to even come back now is actually really, really, it is impressive. I'm excited for this.
I'm excited too. I mean, and he did manage to make 20 of 28 attempts. So that's pretty good connections, only missing 8 attempts. That's fantastic. 249 yards, nothing to sneeze at, a rushing touchdown. Fantastic. Plenty of rushing yards on his own, including one play that was making the rounds on the internet, Wendi, that was like 70 some yards because of the way he ran backwards to scramble and then back
Does that
past the line
count?
of scrimmage.
Does that count
It
like
does,
that?
apparently. I guess I don't think it counts as for like his rushing yards, but somebody took the time to total it up on the little map. I think it was like 20 some rushing yards. So that's like 50 some scrambling yards on the other side of the line of scrimmage.
He must have been really tired after that one play.
Exactly. Well, this week, Wendi, the Cardinals are pretty healthy. Left tackle DJ Humphries, I think that's a huge bummer if he doesn't play, and he's been limited. Amari DeMercado has been out for a very long time, it feels. I think it's 3 games now with a toe injury, rookie running back.
Well, and he was like the hot pickup a few weeks ago. I mean, like everybody, well, it's probably been about a month or so, but everybody was spending all their fab on
3
him,
or 4 weeks.
and he did okay. And now he's been out with the toe injury.
So he's been limited, both of them limited. That doesn't mean that they won't play. So Kyler has this pretty much full roster of weapons to work with this week. There's Marquise Brown, there's Rondale Moore, there's Michael Wilson, who's been making his own splash as a rookie. If you're looking for a flex player, by the way, Michael Wilson would be an excellent flex play for your team, you're probably looking at 7 or 8 fantasy points, which is nothing to sneeze at in a flex spot in a tough position. So
I'm super excited for Trey McBride. I mean, I'm hoping that they have this great connection, and we'll see how that goes. But I did try and pick him up wherever I could a couple weeks ago.
Very smart.
When we all knew Kyler was coming back.
Yeah, because Zach Ertz injured, obviously, but I'm wearing my Mark Andrews jersey today.
Of course you are.
It's funny. Trey McBride, when I see him play, it's almost like watching Mark Andrews play. They are both enormous human beings. Like, they're both super tall, super fit, super athletic in their movements, and you can throw anything at either of Mark Andrews, or now I'm relating it to Trey McBride, and he's gonna catch it no matter what. It's gonna be ridiculous. And that's what I see.
They got those big old hands.
Yeah, like head and shoulders above the rest. I honestly want to like line up all the tight ends, and I feel like those two would be like the giants and the biggest and the fittest and the most athletic. Trey McBride, one to look out for sure. So you did pick him up in some of your leagues?
I have him. Yeah, I have him in several leagues. I mean, he was sitting there. Nobody was picking him up. I didn't spend a whole lot of fab, but I picked him up and stashed him, and I'm ready for him to go.
Yeah, me too.
I'm going to play him this week. Wherever I have him, I'm going to play him.
Do you have any other Cardinals or Texans on your rosters this week that you're thinking about?
Yeah, I'm excited for James Conner. Okay, I really think that he's a stud, and I'm happy to have him back. And I'm hoping he has a big week this week and from here on out. I don't have a whole lot of him, but enough that I think he's going to make a difference for me. Honestly, I don't know if I have a whole lot of Texans on my roster. I do have CJ Stroud in a couple, and I'm sorry, but I'm playing him.
Yeah, you got to. You've got to when you're looking at fantasy for sure. It's definitely going to be a matchup, a battle. I'm excited. I keep saying that, and I'm sorry for anyone who's listening. It's like, why does she keep saying that? Because I am. I'm genuinely excited.
Because you're a Cardinals fan. That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. So last bit of news here. The Cardinals picked up running back Michael Carter from the Jets waivers. Oh. The Cardinals running back room has had struggles. Obviously, James Conner missed a bunch of games, but he's back, so we don't have to worry about it. Keontae Ingram has not made any impact that's measurable for the team necessarily. DeMarcado stepped up and filled in when he needed to, but he's been out injured. So I feel like this pickup was just to kind of support that struggling running back room. But what I did notice is that Michael Carter is more of a receiver than a rusher. So perhaps that's what they were looking for. I don't know. Do you see anything in this news that stuck out to you?
What stuck out to me was, I guess, that the team had a come to Jesus, meeting with players only, like, hey, we got to get our crap together. We want to win. And then guess what? Later that night, Michael Carter gets chopped, he gets cut, they let him go, and I'm just like, so something happened in that. I don't know if it's Michael Carter or if it's the coaching staff. I'm not sure what was going on there. Obviously I wasn't there, but for them to actually have a team meeting, players only, and then that night, and then the next day he's here, he's where you're at. He's in Phoenix, and it was just, so it something was going on there. I'm pretty sure, but he was their 2021 4th round draft pick. This isn't, a slug player, I had high hopes for him that first year, and he did lead the Jets in rushing that year. It's kind of gone downhill, from then on, but I know he got benched the other night for some kind of chop block or something, and he got benched. So I don't know, maybe he was
Yeah.
already, I think he was kind of already on his way out, but I just thought it was a big surprise. Whether it's going to be a positive thing, for the Cardinals, we'll have to see.
We'll have to see. What I think too, now that you mentioned the Jets having this kind of player meeting, is I bet Dalvin Cook is wanting more action, and the fewer running backs to compete and play by committee, the more action for Dalvin Cook, who has been mightily
I think,
struggling to get
yeah,
any
I think
fantasy
that
value
Dalvin,
this
yep,
year.
yep, and I think Dalvin Cook deserves more. I mean, I
I
do think
agree.
yeah, I think he's good, and he does deserve more, and that kind of left Michael Carter out in the cold, I guess.
I guess so. But he's here warming
Yeah,
up in
that's
sunny
right.
Arizona. Actually, I'm in California this week.
Oh, I figured. I
But
saw the
he's
trophy smack there. I'm like, she's a trophy smack.
I am. But yeah, I think this is gonna be a great matchup. We had plenty of news to cover. I loved talking about your trade and how it tied in with the Cardinals.
Thank
And I
you.
loved the story you told about your mom and receiving the gift from your friend that mentioned the Cardinals. And it's the same time I was reaching out to you. So this worked out
Yep.
so
It was
well.
totally meant to be. I'm telling you.
Totally meant to be. Wendi, what else do you have going on that you might want to tell people about?
Oh, yeah. Well, I have a couple little things. Thank you. I do have a show with my co-host Carla with the sports affiliation called The Game Changers, and that's on YouTube on Tuesday nights at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. I don't do a whole lot of stuff, so I'm hoping I get to come back and see you.
You know what? You definitely will come back and see me. I had so much fun today. And I hope that our listeners really enjoyed it, because a lot of times it's just me talking to myself, and I have you now, and that really excites me. So, Wendi, we will do this again. Everybody else, tune in on Monday. There will be a recap. So, we'll see you then. Bye.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.